We're starting a new series today. I'm excited about it. It's called Warriors. The full name of the series is Warriors Come Out and Play, which is from a very old movie that you've probably never seen. Has anybody seen it? You just raise your hand if you've seen it. Okay, you know, literally, I think 5 people have seen this movie. It's a fairly famous reference. It was a really good movie in like 1985 or something like that. If you watch it again, you're like, why did we ever watch movies like this ever? But what we're going to do is we're looking at this really cool list in the Bible that usually has the heading in your Bible, David's Mighty Men. And it's King David. That David has these guys in his life who fight alongside him, and they just have some amazing stories. I love this little section of the Bible. It's only like less than half a chapter long. Each guy has like a couple of sentences written about him. But man, these guys like live lives that are just enviable. You like, I want to be them when I grow up. Like that's you look at these stories and you're just like, this is so cool. So I hope it's like an inspiring thing, an uplifting thing, and maybe lights a fire in our hearts. So we'll get after the first one here today. Do you have people in your life who like have accomplished what you want to accomplish, have done what you want to do, have the life that you want to have? Do you have anybody in your life like that? They just seem to have it all, kind of, so to speak. Like they have the career that you wish you had. They're running the small business that you wish you owned. They have the marriage that you long for. They have the friendships, those deep friendships that you wish you have. They have the waistline or the bicep diameter that you wish you have. They just seem to have it all. Do you have anybody in your life like that? Don't you just hate them? No, you don't. You're not allowed to. That's a Christian, right? We don't hate, right? A better way to say it would be, I struggle with them mentally and emotionally. Does anybody else have the Christian way to say that? But I do. So here's what I do. I don't know if you do this, but here's what I do. I do this thing where I tell myself, when I see somebody like that, I tell myself, well, they've had opportunities that I haven't had. They've had advantages that I haven't had. They've had a head start and a leg up that I didn't have. That's why they have that, accomplished that, are living that, and I haven't. They're, you ever heard the saying, they're born on third base acting like they hit a triple, and I've had to work for what I've got. And that's what I want to tell myself, and maybe you kind of do that too. But I just want to consider this morning, what if that's not true? What if the life they're living is not because of advantages that they've had that we haven't had? What if it's something else? And I know you're sitting there immediately, we always like, well, I do know a guy who was born with a silver spoon in his mouth, and that's why there are always exceptions. But what if the vast majority of those people, and listen to this, what if it isn't the opportunities that they've had that we haven't had? What if it's what they've done with the opportunities that they've had? What if that's the case? What if it's not some opportunity that we haven't had, but it's actually what they did with that opportunity that got them where they are? And I know we don't want to admit that, but can we pause for a minute and just for the next 30 or so minutes, just go with that and say, what if it's what they've done with the opportunities? Opportunity. What is your relationship to opportunity in your life? How have you handled opportunity in your life? Do you even recognize when opportunity comes your way? What if, rather than focusing on all the opportunities that we haven't had, what if we just take a minute and focus on the ones that have come our way? So what we're going to do today is we're going to look at a guy here. When you see his position, the power, the status, the life that he has, you're going to be tempted to hate on him. But I want to dig a little deeper into his life here. So his name is Benaiah. I'm not going to say that every time. I'm just going to call him Ben because it's easier to say Ben than Benaiah. So what I'm going to do with Ben, the way I want to tackle Ben's story is I want to begin at the end, and then we'll jump back to the beginning. Okay, so we're going to start at the end. I want to show you where he ends up, and I'm going to look at the process that it took to get him there. The last place we see Ben in the Bible is in 1 Kings 2:35. Then the king appointed Benaiah to command the army in place of Joab. Now, if you were reading your Bible and you read that, you'd be like, okay. Like that's a very unassuming, it's part of a sentence. It's not even the whole verse. It's just a little tiny thing sitting there, and you might be like, so what? But believe it or not, this is a really, really big deal to Ben. This is huge. He just got appointed general of the army of Israel. He got put at the top of the org chart of the war machine of Israel. This is a huge deal. Everybody salutes him now, right? Everybody stands to attention when he enters the room. Everybody snaps to attention when he shows up on the scene. He is general of God's army, top of the top in his field. Now, at first, I know you're like, I don't really want to be the general of Israel's army, so this is not appealing to me. So can we contextualize this for your life? This is the CEO of the company that you want to work for. That's the position he just got. This is owning the successful small business that you wish you owned. This is like captain of the varsity team. Like, this is the thing that you look at and go, wow, that is like it. Ben just arrived, okay? This is a huge deal for him. Now, if you were, though, like a grunt in Israel's army, you know, the back at the barracks, when they hear about this, you might have been upset when you heard that Benaiah just got named general of the army, and here's why. So the king who just appointed Ben, his name is Solomon. You've heard of Solomon, right? Wisest man to ever live. Well, Solomon's daddy is David, and Ben is friends with David. Long-standing relationship with David. So, if you were in the army, specifically if you were higher up, maybe hoping you might get that position, what you're now saying is, oh, Solomon's appointing all of daddy's friends to the high positions, huh? Is that what we're doing now? It must be nice, knowing the right people. We're not doing this based off of merit or accomplishment or qualifications. It's just about who you know. Can you just imagine that around the water cooler, guys like getting real salty about this just happening? Because if you say it like that, Solomon just appointed daddy's friend to be general of the army. Ugh, I don't like that. But what I want to argue is that it's not that this opportunity was handed to Ben. He was not born on third base here. What I want to look at in his life is how he handled the opportunities that led up to this one and see that he did not just fall into this. So how did Ben handle opportunity in his life? So this verse is the last place we see him in the Bible. I want to jump back all the way to the first place he shows up in the Bible is in the list of David's mighty men. It's in 2 Samuel 23:20. Here's what it says. There was also Benaiah, son of Jehoiada, a valiant warrior from Kabzeel. He did many heroic deeds, which included killing 2 champions of Moab. Another time, on a snowy day, he chased a lion down into a pit, and he killed it. Now, just imagine with me that you got to be in the Bible. Can you possibly come up with a better way to introduce yourself in the Bible than this? This is your debut. Killed 2 champions of some enemy country. Oh, and I killed a lion. That's a pretty cool debut, right? This is awesome. Now, but what I want you to keep in mind is, though, at this point in Benaiah's story, he's like a nobody. He's just a warrior. If there's an army of people, he's like 3 rows over, 4 columns back. He's just a random number in the army. And he does this. So what I want to do is can we zoom in on the lion part here for a minute? I don't know. Again, isn't it funny how sometimes the Bible just has these sentences that are just so unassuming, but they're so jam-packed with wait, hold on, could you expand on that? Don't you wish you could talk to Samuel who wrote this? Could you just write a chapter on that? I want to know more about the lion. Because my brain goes to, I want to imagine how this happened. What was the beginning of this lion encounter like? Can you just imagine that with me? How did he run into the lion? Did it attack flocks or something? Maybe he had to defend it okay. Was he just out for a jog? Oh, there's a lion. I think I'll chase it. Or was he sitting in his living room, watching something, hanging out, and somebody comes running and there's a lion outside. What started this story? And the reason this is relevant is because I think if a lion shows up in my life, I don't usually view that as an opportunity. How about you? I'm not oh, cool. Usually I would say, hey, if a lion shows up, that's danger. If a lion shows up, that's an inconvenience at best, an interruption, a potential disaster. I don't know, death. I don't think opportunity. That would be a horrible thing for a lion to show up. But look at what Ben does. No matter what the the circumstances of the encounter were, he doesn't run from it, which would have been, everybody would have been like, yeah, that's the thing you do. When a lion shows up, you run the other way. He doesn't stand his ground. That would have been brave, right? I think we all would have been like, whoa, the story is that he held his ground and a lion ran from him. Like, that would have been amazing. No, this dude chases the lion. He runs towards it. And I believe that moment, the moment he decided to chase the lion, was actually incredibly pivotal in his life. I actually want to argue that if he hadn't chased this lion, we wouldn't have just read that verse that says he got named general of the army. I think this is that pivotal of a moment that he had to chase this lion to start the process of going towards that. And I'll explain that here in a minute. But first, before we jump to that, I want to pull a principle here from this story when it comes to opportunity, something that Ben recognized that maybe we don't. Opportunity is often wrapped in difficulty. Opportunity is often wrapped in difficulty. I wonder if sometimes we miss opportunity because we don't recognize it. And what happens is, like, a difficulty enters our life, so maybe it's opportunity wrapped in a wrapping paper that we don't really like, and we don't even bother to open it up. And something will enter your life. It'll be a difficulty, a pain, an annoyance. And instead of having this eye for opportunity, we immediately get sour in our attitude. Does anybody else do that? Like, when a difficulty enters your life, you're like, oh, this is stupid. And immediately the attitude goes negative. And maybe you even aim that at God. Something bad happens and you're like, God, what are you doing to me? Why are you letting this happen to me? Immediately kind of go there with a difficulty. And by the way, Ben could have done that, right? I think no matter what these circumstances, the lion showing up, I think Ben could have been like, God, what are you doing? Why are you letting lions into my life? Like, I thought you were with me. I thought you wanted me to prosper and succeed, and now you're letting lions into my life? Like, he could have went really negative with his attitude about this lion, but instead, he sees this lion, he grabs his spear, he puts on his lion-chasing shoes, and he chases the thing. And again, if he hadn't, I think the whole course of his life would have been different. So I want to ask you, what if the difficulty you're facing right now is actually an opportunity in disguise? What if God is allowing the difficulty into your life, not because he's trying to harm you, but what if God is allowing this difficulty in your life to give you an opportunity to step up or step out, or to rely on him in faith, or to take that leap, to step forward in courage, relying on God, getting to see God move powerfully in your life? What if God is actually giving you a difficulty as an opportunity? So how's your attitude about your difficulty? How's your attitude about inconveniences and interruptions? What if you're missing an opportunity because you don't even see it? You just see the lion, you don't see what God could do with it. Okay, so here's why lion chasing is so important in Benaiah's life. The next step in his career is found in 2 Samuel 23:23. Short little sentence, but huge. David made him captain of the bodyguard. So this is how David and him become close, because he is now in charge of protecting David. And again, short little sentence, just like the lion sentence. You have this one little sentence that's jam-packed with meaning. This one is too. Like, oh, he's named captain of the bodyguard of David, one of the most famous people to ever live, right? David's huge, right? It's certainly the most famous Bible characters. You know, next to Jesus, David's right up there, top 3 probably. And Benaiah is the guy who's keeping him safe. So I want to ask the same kind of question I asked about the lion. So the lion was like, well, how did you start this encounter? Well, how do you get this job? You know, like, how do you get this gig? On one hand, I want to say David, he's the giant killer, right? Does he need a bodyguard? You know, this is like, is Mike Tyson hiring bodyguards? I don't know. Does he need it? Is it more about protecting Mike Tyson, or is it more about protecting you from Mike Tyson? You know what I'm saying? Like, what is the job here? Same kind of thing for Ben. David he's a bad dude. But now Benaiah is applying for a job to protect him. How do you get that? Can you just imagine David going through some resumes? You know, oh, this guy, Delta Force, okay. Oh, CIA, nice. Navy SEAL, Like, he's just kind of going through like, I'm not impressed with any of this. Then he pulls one out from the bottom and he's like, Benaiah, that's a weird name. Whoa, hold on. Did you see this? This dude killed a lion. Now, do you know why that would catch David's eye? You're like, well, that would catch my, if you're a hiring, if you got lion killer on your resume, you're probably getting the job. I don't know what jobs you're applying for. But specifically David, this would catch David's eye. And the reason is, in the Bible, only 3 people have ever killed lions. Did you know that? 3 people in the Bible killed lions. Samson's one. If you know Samson, strong guy, he killed a lion. Our boy Ben killed a lion. And then the third person who killed a lion, David. David was a lion killer. If you remember the story, before he fights Goliath, he tells Saul, hey, a lion attacked my flock and I killed it. Like, he's a lion killer. So when David pulls out this resume of Ben's, he's like, hey, me too. No way. This guy, we're lion killing buddies. This is an exclusive club to be a part of. So you can't tell me that there's not a connection here. That Ben deciding that day, instead of running from the lion, he ran towards the lion, isn't connected to him immediately getting this bodyguard job guarding one of the other lion killers in the Bible. Like, you can't tell me that there's not a connection here. That him deciding to view difficulty as an opportunity led to his next opportunity. There's a connection there. Again, how are you viewing difficulty? Because here's the thing, you would never make that connection, right? And maybe that's what you're having a hard time with. You're thinking about your difficulty. You're like, I don't see how this could be an opportunity. But I got to tell you, if I'm sitting in my living room and somebody says there's a lion outside, I'm not going, oh, this is obviously an opportunity for me to be David's bodyguard, right? Like, you would never think that. You'd never make that connection. But that's how God works. Maybe you can't see the connection. Doesn't mean the connection is not there. And maybe you being faithful with that first thing is going to be the thing that opens up the next thing. You don't know how it's going to work. You don't have to know. You just have to do the thing that God's calling you to in that moment, and then see him use it in the next place. So he becomes David, King David's bodyguard. Now, that's pretty cool. Now, David, as much as I think David is a tough guy and maybe he doesn't need a bodyguard, I will say, on the other hand, David's not an easy guy to guard. David has a long list of people in his life who are trying to kill him. The entire Philistine nation wants David dead. So that's multiple kings, multiple armies, a couple of giants who brother is dead now because of David. Like, they want David dead, okay? King Saul, who is king of Israel, actually wants David dead. So Saul and his army want to kill David. His own son tries to kill him. And I would say, just if you read David's story, I'm a little suspect of one of his wives. It's never stated, but I'm like, I don't know. You better check your drink if she hands it to you. Like, it's... So if you're Ben, think about what you're stepping into here. Yes, David's a tough guy, but I can't think of a person in the Bible who has more people after him than David. So this is an incredibly difficult position to step into. He has to have his head on a swivel all the time. And this shows another aspect of Ben's life, and I need you to see this one when it comes to opportunity. Ben tackled tough things even in less than ideal conditions. He tackled tough things even in less than ideal conditions. Because, I mean, think about it. Most bodyguards these days, what are they doing? Like, protecting celebrities against unwanted selfies. Like, that's really, like, don't put your arm around them. Like, that's all they're doing. But this one, multiple kings, multiple armies, people in his own household trying to kill him. Like, this is an incredibly difficult position. This is a tough thing in a really tough circumstance. And you see this repeated in his life. So the lion story, back to the lion story. Did you notice the full sentence? It was a very detailed sentence. It said he killed this lion, but it was he chased it, which is surprising. It didn't corner him, he cornered it. It was snowy, and it was in a pit. Did you see all that? So the circumstances aren't great. I don't know about you, but when I fight lions, I like the weather to be nice. How about you? 75 degrees, I'd like an open field and sure footing if I'm out, fighting lions. But Benaiah, he's like, snow, no big deal. Oh, it's slippery, I'm good. Oh, it's in a pit and I won't be able to retreat? Well, neither will it. Like, that's kind of his mentality. The circumstances were way less than ideal. This is not a great, like, if I'm sitting there deciding, should I chase it or not, I would be able to easily talk myself out of it. Like, yeah. Maybe in the summer. Yeah, I'll go get it. Like, that's if I was Benaiah's buddy, that's what I would have said. Well, the reason that I'm not doing that is because it's not nice out. Like, that's what I would have said. But he don't care. He tackled tough things in less than ideal conditions. I wonder if sometimes we pass up opportunity because we're waiting for conditions to improve in our life. I wonder if sometimes we miss opportunity because we're like, it's not, timing's not right. So we don't even like count it. When we're like getting salty about that person who has all those opportunities, we don't even count the opportunity that comes to us in a condition we don't like. At least it doesn't even count. But what if it should? I only fight lions in 75-degree days. I'll pursue that dream when things slow down. I'll go back to school when. I'll start that business when. I'll write that book when. We keep not pursuing these opportunities because the conditions aren't ideal, but I have a question. What if the conditions are never ideal? What if they never get to that point, that whatever that imaginary point in your life where you're like just hoping things will slow down? So I have 4 kids now, teenager all the way down to like 5-year-old. And I've done this thing, and maybe you've done this too, like every stage, I'm like, whoa, this stage is crazy. When you have a newborn, you're like, I'm never sleeping, things crying all the time, and it's just madness. So, the conditions aren't ideal when I have a newborn. Then you have a toddler, and they're constantly just trying to kill themselves all the time, sticking forks into outlets, putting random things into their mouth, and just like, this is crazy, this is not an ideal time. And then they become kids, and they ask you a million questions. You're going to fields and courts and the school things, and your life is insane there, so you're like, that's not a good season. Then they become preteens, and they're just horrible. And that's because you're dealing with attitude all the time. And then they're teenagers, and they just take all your money, and you're the Uber driver. Like, you know what I'm saying? So, like, I guess what I'm trying to tell you is every stage I've gone, this is not ideal. That right now is not a good time as a parent. And so what essentially I've done is like, well, when they move out, and hopefully they are successful enough to just go, And I've got 4, so my chances of all of them successfully leaving the nest are pretty low, right? And then one of them will turn around and have a kid, and I'll be a grandparent, and then it'll be, you know what I'm saying? I guess in my life, I'm just trying to, in my life, I could argue it'll never be an opportune time. The conditions will never be ideal. I'm always gonna have some crazy thing happening in my life. And if I allow that to be the thing that prevents me from seizing an opportunity, well, I'll never do it. So what are you not pursuing right now because the conditions are not ideal? Maybe we need to take a page out of Ben's book here and tackle tough things in less than ideal conditions. All right, so he's the bodyguard. And here's the thing, David survives. David lives a good, long life. So I wanna say he was a successful bodyguard. We don't know the details, but I'm thinking at the top of the job description was keep David alive, and he did it. So I wanna say he did a great job at that because David lived and a lot of people wanted to kill him. So he does this for a while, and then he gets his next assignment, which is found in 1 Chronicles 27:5. Benaiah, son of Jehoiada, the priest, was commander of the 3rd division of 24,000 troops, which was on duty during the 3rd month. So he does a great job as a bodyguard, and I want to call this a promotion into now he's in charge of 24,000 troops. That's a lot. That's like almost the population of Wadsworth, like the whole thing. That's a lot of troops. And it says they're only on duty 1 month a year. The 3rd month, March. Man, okay, so this one's interesting. He gets to this stage. That's like a good job right there, right? Got 24,000 people saluting you when you walk by. You're working 1 month a year. I could do 1 month a year. Could you do 1 month a year? I'd pick January, let's get it out of the way, and then I got 11 months to recover. This is a pretty sweet gig he's got here. So here's what had been, here in my opinion, as he's gone throughout his life, when he gets to this stage, I think the temptation here, when it comes to opportunity, would have been to settle. But this is the thing that we see about Ben that sets him apart when it comes to opportunity. He didn't settle when God called him to stretch. He didn't settle when God called him to stretch, and that's what I want to say to you. Don't settle when God has called you to stretch. And I think this is one that comes along when you're a little further into your journey. So if you're young, you need to pay attention to the first 2 principles. If you weren't paying attention, shame on you. But as you go in your life, when you first start off, I don't know if you guys remember this, if you first start off, you don't have anything, you barely have enough money to get gas. You're starting off and you're working hard. You don't have a ton of relationships. You don't have a ton of stuff. So what motivates you when you're young is actually kind of pain, right? Pain motivates you. I don't have any money. I want money, so I need to do some things. I don't have any relationships. So that moves you along. Pain is a great motivator. But when you hit a certain point in your life, that pain that is very acute when you're young starts to kind of numb a little bit. And you reach a place where you have some relationships, you have a job, you have some stuff. Maybe you would call it a mediocre life. You make it to it's not bad. My life's not bad. You would never say that to anybody. But it's just meh. And when you get to that place, it's so tempting to just kind of stop. Because mediocrity, I think it's really seductive because it's not painful anymore. I have a job. It's not the job I want, but I have one. I have some relationships. They're not all great, but I have one. You have some stuff, so it's not painful anymore. And you're here at this mediocre place, and then you have a decision to make because you have some stuff now in life. And you see, here's mediocre. What's this? This is greatness. This is the thing that God has called you to. But you're here. And usually, in order to go from mediocre to great, there's some risk involved. You have to take a risk to try and get to great, which means you kind of have to let go of mediocre to go after great. And what you're afraid of is that if you risk mediocre to go after great and you fail, that you go back here to painful. So you don't want to risk it. And you stay in mediocre because it's safer. And you end up living a life that's less than what God has called you to. A sleepy, mediocre, less than life. And I don't say less than as like an insult to you. I mean it specifically as less than what God has called you to. God has a call on your life, a purpose for your life, and you are living beneath that. It's not less than other people. It's less than who you're supposed to be. I'm comparing where you are now to where God wants you to be. That's what I mean when I say less than. You're settling. So where are you settling? Are you dating someone right now who's, they're all right. Look at me, don't look at them. Are you in a position at work that's just, it's all right. Pays the bills. Is your health just, meh? Not going to die of heart disease, I think. It's just probably. Is your marriage just, it's okay. We don't hate each other. Are you living a mediocre life? Is your life just not painful enough to make a move? You know what I'm saying? Because I think this is one of Satan's sneaky ways to get us to live beneath what he's called us to. He removes just enough pain to get us to stop and go, this is pretty good. It's all right. I don't hate this too much. And we stop. And we settle. And we never experience the next thing that God has for us. And what happens then is what is gets in the way of what could be. What is in your life gets in the way of what could be. Your mediocre boyfriend is in the way of who God really wants you to be with. Don't tell him that. Your current mediocre position at work is in the way of the thing that God really wants from you because you won't risk it. You won't risk it to go after the other thing. Your current mediocre health is in the way of you having what God really wants for your health. Mediocre becomes a barrier, it becomes an anchor, it becomes quicksand that you get stuck in. You settle and you never find out what's next. Again, I think Ben could have stopped here and been like, this is pretty good. 24,000 troops, saluting me, I work 1 month a year. This is pretty good. He could have settled. But I think in his heart he had something. He knew way back here, God's called me to something. God has called me to be something big, and I have to keep pursuing it. So he kept, even when he hit pretty good, he knew he couldn't stop because there was a fire in him that led him to continue. So just consider the different areas of your life. Are you settling? Has just enough pain been removed for you to stop pressing? Do you still have a little thing in your heart that says, no, there's supposed to be more than this? There's supposed to be more. I'm not supposed to stop here. I shouldn't get comfortable here. I can't let Satan lull me to sleep here. I'm supposed to keep going. So back up and look at Ben's progression. Look at this guy's life. He starts as an unknown, way over here, sees a lion and says, I'm chasing that thing. And that pivotal step to chase that lion sets him on a trajectory. So instead of seeing a difficulty as a difficulty, he saw difficulty as an opportunity. And then because of that, this opportunity, he now gets to be David's bodyguard. And this is not an ideal position to be bodyguard in, and he does it well. He tackles difficult things in a less than ideal conditions, and because he does a good job at that, he gets this opportunity to lead 24,000 troops. And he could have settled, he could have stopped, but he kept listening to that little voice, that little fire inside him that says, no, God has called me to even more than this. So he kept pressing, and that's how he ends up general of the entire army. So if you look at you can't now say, he just got handed that, you know? You can't say that Benaiah was born on third base here, right? Because he fought a lion on first base, right? He's a whole different situation than what you imagine it to be. So this is the overall lesson I want you to see from Ben's life is opportunity well handled creates more opportunity. Opportunity well handled creates more opportunity. Opportunity has like a momentum to it. Do you see that? It has like a domino effect to it, almost a compounding interest throughout his life that ends here. Because he handled them well, he kept getting more. When you handle an opportunity well in your life, God will give you more. When you handle that one well, God will give you more. God responds to these things. So here's what you can't do. Here's what you can't do. You can't look at the person who's made it all the way there, and you can't live your life in a way that says, every difficulty I just interpreted as God allowing horrible things in my life and woe is me. You can't do that. And then you can't be the person who says, I'm gonna wait until our conditions are perfect to go after something. You can't do that. And then you can't settle when things get kind of comfortable or almost comfortable or at least mediocre, you settle. You can't do all that and then complain, God never gives me opportunities like this person. You can't do that. You can't do that. Maybe you're missing them. Maybe you're not seeing them. Maybe you're waiting. Maybe you're settled. Opportunity well handled creates more opportunity. So let's not be so hard on people who have that life that we want, assuming it was handed to them, because maybe we're just telling ourselves that because we want to feel better about the fact that they're there and we're not. Let's be inspired. Let's be challenged. Let's have a fire lit in us when we see people like that. Now, here's what I believe about you. I believe that you have like a God-given purpose in your life, that God created you for a purpose. And you probably do too, right? If you grew up in church, you have any familiar, you're like, yes, I have a purpose. But here's where I think we go wrong is we think God's just gonna hand it to us, right? Here you go, here's your purpose. We just think it's gonna come. And you're just kind of waiting around for that. When is it gonna come? But what if the beginning of your purpose looks like a lion entering your life? You got to recognize it. You got to deal with the difficulty in a certain way, in a faith-filled way, in a I'm trusting in you, God way. If he nudges you to say, hey, go chase that thing. You're like, what, God? You want me to chase a lot? Do it. Then do it. Maybe your purpose is showing up in a difficulty. Maybe your purpose is showing up in a less than ideal condition. It's not exactly the way you wanted. It's not wrapped in all the little details that you wanted, but maybe it's here and maybe you need to go after it anyways. Maybe your opportunity is showing up and it's going to be a little risky because you're settled. And you're going to have to let go of what is in order to pursue what could be. Maybe your purpose, God's plan for your life is wrapped in these packages that you're not recognizing. So what is the opportunity that God has placed in front of you right now? What is it? And I just want to say, man, I hope you see this, because again, I think the temptation when we see people who have it all is to just say they had it, they had opportunity that I didn't have, and that's why they have it. But do you realize what that does is that takes all the responsibility off of you? And Christians, can we be real Christians? We're doing this thing lately, kind of popular, where if stuff goes wrong in your life, you just like either blame the devil or like your haters. I don't know how you all have so many haters. It's the haters. That's why I don't have it. And what we're doing in those two things, we're spiritualizing this victim mindset of it's somebody else's, the reason it's happening is on somebody else and I can't do anything about it. And I get it. The reason that's tempting is because then you don't have to take responsibility for messing up. But I want to argue that I would rather take responsibility. And here's why. Like, I get that if you say right now, if you decide, all right, the reason I am where I'm at right now is because of the way I've handled opportunities in my past. I'm aware that then you have to go backwards a little bit. You have to do some remembering, and you have to take responsibility for some stuff, and that's not comfortable. I get that. Yeah, I didn't deal with that difficulty well. I didn't handle this well. I haven't moved here. I've actually kind of stayed stagnant here. You're going to have to go back, and that's going to be painful to look backwards. But the reason I want to encourage you to do it is because of you looking forwards. In your life, when you look forwards and take responsibility, this is an exciting thing. Because now instead of saying, well, I hope God does some stuff in my life, you can say, no, I'm going to take responsibility for this. I want to make some choices. Every opportunity, I want to seize it. I want to go after it. I want to see what God does as I step into these opportunities. And now you have some sense of being a part of what God is doing, not just like along for the ride. To me, that is so much more appealing than just saying, well, I hope my life goes okay. Get rid of that victim theology stuff. Step into it. Satan's trying to stop me. Yeah, Satan can send a lion. He can. But look what God did with the lion. Again, who knows what God can do with the difficulty that you're facing right now? So, we're taking communion today. And if you want to participate, and you don't have one, we got some people who have it. So if you want to raise your hand, if you want to take communion. By the way, you don't have to. If you're not a follower of Jesus yet, you don't have to. I don't want you to feel pressured anyway. Maybe you're not in the place to take it. You don't have to. This is something we do as believers. And the reason we take communion is the night Jesus was arrested, he took bread and he broke it and he said, this is my body, do this in remembrance of me. And he took wine and he drank it and said, this is my blood which is spilled for you, do this in remembrance of me. So we regularly as Christians take this time to do the thing that Jesus said to do, remember. And we're going to remember what Jesus did for us. As believers, we believe that Jesus died on the cross in our place for our sins, so we're going to take this time and remember that. But also, this is a time where we do some self-reflecting, not just what Jesus did, that it was specifically for me, and we look at the way we're living our lives, and we reflect on what he's done, and we reflect on what we've done. Now, here's the typical way is you'll take some time and you'll reflect on the things you've done that you shouldn't have done, you know, the do's and don'ts of the Bible, the 10 Commandments. Am I breaking any of those? And you'll take some time, reflect on that. You ask for forgiveness for those things in your life. And that's important. But I want to contextualize this one down to what we're talking about today. Can I direct some of your reflection? And I want to say something maybe kind of crazy, but I think you living beneath the life that God has called you to is sinful. I don't think it's just like, oh, that would have been nice extra credit. No, I think if you're living beneath what God has called you to, I think if Benaiah would have ended up anything less than general, that would have been a sin for him, because God called him to this. And if you live beneath it, you're not living up to what God called you to. And I think it's a really big deal. I'm so passionate about this. Like, I think it's a really big deal. I'd rather you break one of the 10 Commandments than live a life beneath what God has called you. You know, a weird thing to say? Don't take this out of context, internet. I'd rather you steal something than live beneath what God has called you to. The whole sentence. You got to have the whole sentence on the clip when you steal that one. Pastor said to steal something. Yeah. I'd rather you steal than live beneath what God has called you to. Don't do either. How about that? But maybe what you can do right now is take this time of reflection, and I want you to just reflect on, are you living the life that God has called you to? Are you living, because you know what I'm talking about, that little fire that's burning in you that says you're supposed to do something, you're supposed to be something, God's nudging you in a direction. You know that fire? Some of you've ignored it for so long, it's just so small. That whisper is so quiet, but you know it's still there. Are you talking yourself out of it? Maybe right now, take this time and reflect. Lord, I'm sorry for living beneath what you've called me to. Help me to step back into that. Because God's called you to something. Don't ignore it. So here's what we're going to do. Worship team's going to come. They're going to play. I want you to stay seated. I want you to have a time with Jesus. You can reflect on that. And whenever you're ready, you can take communion on your own as they're playing this song. Okay? Let's pray. Lord, thank you for the opportunities you've given us in our life. Thank you for not giving up on us. I pray for the person right now who's having a really hard time viewing difficulty as opportunity in their life. I pray for the person whose attitude's gone real sour about what they're facing right now. Lord, I pray that you would show them that lion might be there for a reason. Light a fire in their heart about that. Lord, I pray for the person who's waiting. They're waiting for conditions to improve. Lord, I pray that you would get them going. Inspire them right now to take a step even when things aren't great. Lord, I pray for the person who's settled. They're living a mediocre life. I pray that they would pursue what you have called them to. That this room would be full of people who are passionately pursuing what you have called us to. We would not live a less than life. You are good. Thank you for the cross. Thank you for a relationship with you. I pray for the person right now sitting here, Lord, who hasn't even started a relationship with you, that would be their next opportunity to lay down their life to you right now. That they would be sitting here very aware that you are knocking on the door of their heart, and that they would take a moment right now and pray a prayer of surrender to you, to give their life to you, to give their sin to you, and to start a relationship with you and watch you move in their life. Lord, I pray that they would take that step. I pray for this church, Lord. This church will be full of lion chasers. In Jesus' name I pray.